Hello and welcome to episode 512 of the God is a Geek podcast. My name's Adam Cook, your host, and I am joined by it's Chris Hyde. Hello, it's just me and Chris. Hello, Chris.
Hello, mate. It's just two mates having a chat.
Yeah, I can't build it up much more than that, really.
Shizzle.
Well, I'll say I can't build it up any more than just I can't go and it's Chris Hyde because there's no and. It's just us. It's just us.
No, it's just us. But that's all you need. It's all you need.
I guess so. Sometimes love is all you need, as the Beatles once sung about in the history past. Not that I'm trying to fill for time already before we've even started the pod, but how the devil are you, though? Generally speaking,
prepare yourself, everybody, for some epic bants and epic video game discussion.
I mean, I could say anything.
It's going to be good.
I could say anything because of the painkillers I'm on. Really, I could.
Yeah, I mean. You've literally got carte blanche now. You can do anything. I can't really get away with it. If I say something crude, then that's on me. You just go, well, it's the paracetamol.
Plus those strong painkillers. The
paracetamol. yeah, those really mind-bending paracetamol that I'm on. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not going to dwell on it. People, I'm like, this is a reference for you. Do you remember Harry Enfield and Paul Whitehouse when they used to do Smashy and Nicey and you go, I do a lot of charity work, but I don't like to talk about it. I don't like to talk about my maladies and ailments that I've been through in my life. I never mention them ever. But I will just say that tooth pain is a motherfucker. And anyone out there who's listening for a distraction, that's why we're doing it. Yeah. Because if it weren't for the fact I thought we could be a distraction, I would not be sat here because it's...
No, tooth pain is... You wouldn't think it would be as bad as it actually is, but it's...
I disagree. I disagree. I think because anything else, like it's physical, you can see it, you can touch it. Because tooth pain is like in there, you can't do anything about it in there. It's just whatever.
I always feel as well like it's like almost... When I have it, I'm like, it's like my whole head.
Yeah, no, it's
like
your
my brain
cheeks,
and
your gums, your head, your eyes. I've got sensitive left eye for it. I think I might just have a sty, but I don't know. That's it. I don't like to talk about it. But I do like to talk about video games.
Up, really?
No, I did bring it up, and we should talk about video games. And I'm afraid it's going to be an awful lot of me probably talking and you asking things. Because all three of the games we're going to chat about this week, it is going to be a shorter pod in general, just the two of us, and we did an hour 44 last week. And yes, I know we didn't do 2 for the weeks before that, but that's not the point, dear listener. We're here to talk about games, and I do want to kick it off with... Well, look, I never say this, right? I don't think I've ever done this on a podcast, but I think like this is the first Game of the Year contender right here, Octopath Traveller 2. Okay? I think this is the first big one. And I don't know why I didn't see it coming, because the first one was tremendous. Like, a really good... But I kind of forgot a lot of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I almost think Square have done this to the franchise, because Square have put out so many of these HD 2D games, like Live Alive or Project Triangle... what was it called now? Triangle Strategy.
Strategy.
Yeah, I reviewed that as well. But because they've put out so many of these sort of this lookalike of the game, what I forgot is how kind of original the Octopath Traveler gameplay was. Because whereas Live Alive is a fairly traditional RPG and Triangle Strategy is a fairly traditional sort of turn-based tactics affair, I forgot about all the mechanics within Octopath Traveler that made it sort of that special thing, if that makes sense. Like, do you played the original?
Yeah. It was because I remember you talking. I have the pleasure of hearing you message me about stuff, and I remember you talking about the first one, and it was, and then you saying stuff about the second, and I was like, yes, that is as I expected. But like, because like you say, I think you had forgotten some of the like. I think everyone remembers the visuals. I think a lot of people, because they were so beautiful at the time, and something you didn't think could be as beautiful because of what it was, but then how it played, it was gorgeous. But then, that wasn't why everyone, when you actually remember how it was to play, that's not the only thing that everyone fell in love with. It's the thing that I think you think of first, but it's not the thing that when you play it, you're like, oh yeah, those visuals. You see them and you like them, but it is the gameplay loops and the mechanics and the you know, the bosses and the storylines, and maybe you'll come into it, right? But it's like it's all those things kind of rolled together, right? That kind of make it. But I mean, I'm really keen because I have played the original. It's like, I guess they're two very general questions about like kind of leaning into one of them, which is like how similar it is and how good it, in terms of the good things, but also then if there's anything different kind of thing is kind of my two. That's what I want to know.
So it's really interesting that you were like, yeah, no, that's what I expected. That's what the thing is. I think because I've like reviewed Live Alive and Project Triangle Strategy in between them, because I wanted to say I think they're two you haven't played. I think.
No.
Okay.
No.
But I think I know you
ran out of time on Triangle, so.
Triangle's the one of the two I would very strongly recommend of those two. But because I have I've literally reviewed them, so I've played all of them, if that makes sense. I didn't even just like play a bit of them. I played all of those games. That's why I think the memory has amalgamated a little bit. So I'd forgotten about the break and the break mechanic completely forgotten about it until Lyle mentioned it, and then I played it and I was like, oh yeah, that's what made this game. And I think it elevated the visual, it just elevated everything. The fact that basically, you know, it's a traditional thing in that enemies will have a weakness to a status effect or a element type or a weapon type. It's that, and the fun part is working out which element this enemy has like one of 3 or 4 or 5 weaknesses to, and they also have a shield, and by hitting them 3 times or whatever their shield is, 3 or 4 times, let's say, with the thing they're weak to, you break their guard and they lose their next turn. And that means you can just really rail on an enemy if you get it right. In the old grey matter, like if you get it right and you work it out and you've got the right, like there's like it's a weird thing to say, but we always do like a moment of the year category. Like, and I know it's February, barely, nearly March, but barely started really. One of my moments of the
started
year.
My doc, mate.
This is it. But one of my moments
with February, you've got to start, haven't you? Because there's so many games.
Yeah, no, you have. But with my one of my moments so far is because obviously there's 8 characters, the Octo part of the game. Accidentally having a party of 4 that just happened to be perfect for a combat encounter. That was one of my moments of the year, and then for the first time in so when you finish a battle, you get you get your XP, you get your cash, you get leaves. It is in this game. You get your job points, which I'll come to, and you get like bonuses for them. So if you finish on a break or an overkill, you get extra of those things. And I got one that was like, I think it was called Untouchable, because I had that perfect party that literally I broke every one of the 3 enemies on my first go around because of everything that works with it, all the mechanics that work together. I broke them in the first turn, and then they never got a move, and I just literally wiped them out. And that plays into one of the newer mechanics. So while you still break and do all that, there is now a thing called latent effect, and each of the characters has a latent ability. And this is built up by doing damage or taking damage or breaking them is a really good one of building up this bar. It's actually a circle, but for the purposes of explanation, when you hit that latent ability, it's different for every character. So, for example, one of them, I think it's Temenos, his latent ability is that whatever attack you do will count towards that shield break. So even if he's a character, and he's a stave character, even if you're fighting an enemy who is not weak to staves, if you've built up the battle points to so he's got a max and he can hit 4 times, and they've got a shield of 4, and his latent ability comes up, you can hit them 4 times. You won't do huge amounts of damage still, but you will break their guard 4 times with that attack. And that little thing is like, oh my god. And so, just to explain further, No, I was just gonna say, it sounds like, because obviously, like you say, the best battles that you had in the first game were like you say, it's the grey matter, it's the tactics. There is very much a tactics to how you play each battle, right? And that just sounds like, okay, well now there's different ways I can think about. Is it like, so the latent stuff, is it like automatic or is it triggered? So in the very first time you get it,
so once it's full.
Yes, you trigger it by pressing. I'm gonna have to look at a Switch controller. It's X button, so the white, the top button of the face.
Okay, so the meter will be full, and you can go. I want to use it this turn.
Yeah, it will literally come up saying like latent ability if you want to press it. But some of them are like genius. Like, so for example, there's a character called Octavio. I think his name. He's like the mage you get early on, and he has like fire and ice and eventually lightning you can unlock, but they target all. Okay. His latent ability, for example, is to change it so that it only attacks one enemy. So but by doing so, because it's still a spread attack, so by doing his latent ability, you can focus more power on that one enemy and do massive, massive amounts of damage. There's an apothecary,
Yeah.
Apothecary, a potions girl, right? Hers is amazing. Like, her latent ability is so good, I never want her out of my party. So the fact that she can do potions means that her special skill is she can mix stuff together and, like, so she can literally put two herbs together, it makes a health potion, and it also gives you BP, or it gives you magic back, or it gives you any number of buffs. Her latent ability, which can also be when you press the right bumper and it use your battle points to, like, you can cast 4 attempts or whatever. Her latent ability, which can be done with this, means you don't use any ingredients. So you can. The idea with her, I find, is that you never use the ingredients and never use that until you get a latent ability, and then you can go, right, I'll give you a potion that gives you 400 health, I'll give you full magic back, I'll give you a thing that recovers your health every 3 turns, and because I'm using it all, I use the one that then is called Disperse, so it goes to all of your party, and you can use one then as the 5th one that is like, it strengthens it all, so instead of 400 HP, it's 2000 HP. So I can't take her out of my party. Like, there's another guy.
That sounds insane.
There's another guy who's probably the Merchant's one of my favourite characters. I just love his voice acting, and his story's really nice. Like, it's all about he sees the good in the world, and he wants to just, like, there's in this world, like, steam engines are just coming in, but he doesn't want them just used by corporations. He wants to share them with the world and make everyone have a better life. So he's kind of just this nice guy, but his latent ability is to instantly give him full BP. So if you are on a turn where you've got like a real bad boss and your party's all wiped and you really need to heal them or get them back to life, you can go, oh, my latent ability's come and they're weak to, I think he's like Lance or something, or he's Lance and Bow. So you can then use that latent ability, even if you've got no BP, to suddenly have max, hit them 4 times, break them, recover your party. And every single one of the party has something. Like, the dancer's kind of the reverse of the magic guy in that it turns her abilities to attack all or heal all. It does the... The only downside to this game that I've been able to come up with so far is that because of... they all have their own job abilities as well in the game. So, like, Throne, who was my main character, is a thief, and during the day she can steal off people. And during the night, she can ambush people. Because, by the way, in this game now, which I don't think was in the first one, if you just hit right trigger, it just changes day to night. As long as it's not story, you can't do it in story. There are times you can't do that. And I find that there's a little bit of an overlap with some of the job abilities in that world. Like, there are quite a few of them who are like, oh, I'm going to lead you because you're going to be summonable in battle. There's like 2 or 3 of those. And like, the only other negative I can think of is that some of the side quests, most of the side quests, like, you run into someone in a town, they tell you, oh, I've lost my thing, or this thing happened, or whatever, and it's somewhere else on the road, and then you'll just find it later on, and it's a bit like but I don't really mind. Like, it's not a problem, because it's just such a good video game all around that I don't mind just wandering around the world having fights and leveling up. And I'm enamored with this game in a way that it's like I said, I want to almost go back and read my review of the original. I know I liked it, but this is like, I love this game. This is one of those where I'm already looking ahead going, well, it might take a Tears of the Kingdom. It might take that to get this not off the top of my list, because it's just unbelievably good. Like, the latent stuff doesn't... I don't know if it's coming across right or not, but I worry people think, well, it doesn't sound like a lot. It adds so much, and it's one of those things. I'm trying to think what game. I think it was Marvel's Midnight Suns where Mick and I mentioned this, and I think Chris the same. You might have favourite characters, but then because you're doing story missions, you bring the ones that you perhaps aren't your favourite in, and then when you're playing with them, you're like, oh yeah, but they're really good, aren't they? That's really good and really clever, and that ability works. No, I don't want to take. And you kind of end up actually keeping them all around the same sort of levels, because you do end up going, well, actually, that's really good, and I want to do their story to get it out of the way, perhaps because I want to go back to this story. And then you use them, and you're like, no, actually, they're really good. And then once you start unlocking like secondary jobs for characters and stuff as well, it all comes at the right time. And the really fascinating thing about this game, whether by design or by mistake, is that, like, talking to Lyle, for example, who reviewed it for God is a Geek, go read his review, godisageek.com, 10 out of 10, is that we discovered things at completely different paces. Like, he started as the dancer, I started as the thief. They're on opposite ends of the map, and you work your way around at the beginning, and they, you literally get characters at different paces. Secondary jobs, like, I happened upon a building that was like, what was it? It wasn't the Thieves Guild, but it was the equivalent of. And they're like, oh yeah, well, we can teach you this, and also you can teach other people this if you fulfill these conditions. You're like, oh, so I can have 3 extra people as that class if I want, as a bonus class. And it just, like I say, whether it's by design or what a happy accident, at no point was I like, oh, this is too soon or this is too late. It just feels like a jigsaw that was designed to fit together. It's magic. Like, I cannot sing this game's praise enough, and like, it's not an exclusive anymore either. It's on PlayStation as well and PC, I think. I cannot sing this game's praises highly enough. It's just, well, it's the best game this year so far. Like, and I thought it'd be a while before I felt this way, like after Fire Emblem Engage sort of thing. But this is, the mutt's nuts, as they say.
I'm really pleased because, like, well, this is what all the kids say. That exact phrase. I mean, we were obviously talking about most anticipated, and this didn't make the top 5, I don't think. And it's nice when that happens, right? Because that means, in all likelihood, it's going to be a even better year than we hoped, right? Because some of the ones that you think they'll be good, but they might not be like Game of the Year contenders, suddenly start, appearing, and you suddenly think, Christ, this could be like you say. There's some belters still to come that we know about. There'll be some surprises as well. I mean, I was always going to play this. I know I need to find like the however many hours it's going to take to play it, but it will. I will say I'm glad
I've got it on Switch, because while I'm sure it looks better in 4K or whatever on PlayStation 5. I will say that it is a wonderful game for that kind of, I'm just going to play an hour, because I find most of the story chapters are like an hour. I really enjoyed
that aspect on Switch.
Yeah, and then they've kind of retained that, again, whether it's intentional or not, but I find that each chapter of everyone's story is kind of not that much more than an hour. But it just subverts expectations quite constantly as well. Like, you do the first chapter and they're always the same, because any first chapter could be your first chapter, depending on who you pick. And then like a second chapter I played of one, and it was really story heavy, and there was barely any combat. And I was like, oh, okay, is that going to be what happens to everyone? And it isn't. And then there's like some really interesting battles. Like, there's suddenly you're fighting an enemy, a boss enemy, who actually, once you get far enough in, he might start off with 4 shield. He does a move that now he's got 6, and then when you get further, and now he's got 8. So he's reacting to, that sort of thing. It's just fucking brilliant game, man. Brilliant game. Which does sort of lead in. Well, it doesn't. It leads into another game I want to talk about. That, again, I don't think this would be like biggest disappointment, but Atomic Heart is out now as well, on Game Pass and stuff. And I think it's a really, really strange game, a really strange video game. And I don't know where to begin, because I don't know. I like the trailer. I don't know. Look, the trailers that they released leading up to this game, unless I'm mistaken, kind of, for me, made it look like it was almost like a BioShock meets Bulletstorm kind of balls to the wall, crazy kind of shooter.
No, this very much looked like a batshit crazy, high adrenaline, flipping craziness. Yeah, like that's what it. Because that's what I remember we talked about it in terms of most. I was like, I'm all in for this. This looks really like intense and interesting. And then you're about to tell me that it's maybe not that as much as maybe the promos have suggested.
I've stopped playing it. I'll say that much, right? Because there's a lot of games and a lot of things drawing my attention. I will briefly mention a couple of VR things I played this week as well at some point, because I just want to keep updating, as it were. Because I couldn't play them all pre-launch because some of them weren't available pre-launch. But Atomic Heart takes a very long time to get going. And really? I don't. Yeah, like it starts off, you sat on a gondola. I don't know if it needs mentioning that it's like some sort. It's like an alternative timeline where like the USSR, etc., and Russia, blah blah blah, and timing and all this. I mean, look, we all know this. Everyone obviously sends like love to Ukraine and stuff, and it's not. I don't know. I don't know if that. It reminds me a little bit at the start of, you know, when obviously everyone was in the throes of COVID at its worst peaks, and Resident Evil 3 remake came out, and it literally starts with a cutscene of like, it's a global pandemic, and you're like,
yeah.
Well, I know, but I don't really want to play it. And like there may be a part of that where for me it's kind of like rubbing, you know, it's bristling me a little.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of so out there that I don't think it could. Well, I don't want to say it could be worse, because it took everything. But it's like it's just a weird game, and it starts off, and I feel like it's trying to be BioShock Infinite. You're in a city in the clouds. There's robots and stuff, and weird things everywhere, and weird like hand technology that he's got like a glove with I don't know what that thing is, some sort of wires in it. But it just takes ages. It's just so long before you get a weapon or a gun and start doing things, and then you get a weapon, and it's like. I mean, what would be the yardstick for you if I said to you, like, first-person melee combat? I think I know what you're going to say, but if I was to say, what stands out to you, like, when you think of first-person melee-based combat?
I'm probably going to... I'm trying to think of really good ones.
Well, so I thought you'd go Dying Light, or that sort of...
Dying Light's the thing I was thinking of, to be clear. I was trying to think if I was missing an obvious one. Dying Light's the first one that came into my head. Yeah, I can't think of any other first-person ones.
No,
Dying Light's the only one that comes to mind.
But
yeah,
first thing you get is a big axe.
Yeah,
and you're sort of swinging it around. It feels kind of oddly heavy and weightless at the same time, because you're attacking these androids that also feel too light and too quick and also weightless, and it didn't feel right. And then you get a shotgun, and the shotgun feels like, okay, it's doing more damage, but like these things are moving too quick for what I may get capable of doing. And you get like your BioShock left trigger buttons or whatever, left bumper. You get like a shock that for some reason it's on triangle, and then and you're forced to unlock that. But kind of after that, mostly you're told, yeah, there's a skill tree here, get what you want, get a new power, and eventually like, well, I'm just going to unlock this frost thing. You haven't told me to, but I can, so I will. And then Frost changes the game because you can freeze the enemies and then hit them or shoot them. And it's like, okay. I will also say, I'm starting to lose a bit of... my endurance is dropping for games that are just balls hard for the sake of it at the moment. Like, this game's... Like, I don't feel like I should have to hit a grunt enemy 6 times with a blunt force weapon to drop it and have 3 of them on me. And
I was going to say, not if there are then... 3 more surrounding you, and
in a
you've
boss
got to dodge
fight,
out of the way. Yeah,
it's fine, but like,
yeah, I mean, my thoughts on it. Obviously, we talked about Wanted Dead the other day. I think there's I haven't played Atomic Heart. But I'm a strong believer. I'm playing Metroid Prime Remastered at the moment, and that's not a very difficult game. That's a gameplay experience more than difficult, but it reminds you what fun can be. I don't need to die 6 times and respawn and try and get past something to enjoy myself. I can find other ways of enjoying myself, and it's not passive. I'm loving playing that again, and it's a great game, as you've said. But there are ways. Yeah, I feel like we've said it before. Like, difficulties sometimes a badge of honor in some games, and it's like, that's not what makes things fun. Difficulty can be fun. A challenge overcame can be amazing.
But I eventually turned this down because I was just sick of it, right? I was like, I want to play more of this game because it's got something. Yeah. It's got something. Yeah. But I'm not going to be playing it if you're going to constantly rub up against me in this way, where I'm having to spend... Where every encounter's like this. I'm not playing a Souls game. I don't expect this from a first-person... shooter/melee game. You know, it's not the case in Dying Light. It's not the case in those sort of games. It's not the case in Half-Life. You know what I mean? It's odd. And it felt like a better game. Like they still take a little bit to put them down, but they feel like that this is what they should be taking to put down at this.
It allows
juncture.
You to enjoy the experience more and play, and dare I say, play about with your new abilities that you look in the skill tree. If I think about some of the most enjoyable moments of something like Dying Light, I'd be like, I've just unlocked a drop kick attack. Right, let's go and test that out on some unsuspecting undead. And I just think,
yeah. I think it's got more problems than that though as well. I think when a game gives you that kind of the freedom in terms of here's the skill tree, fuck away, boys. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it has to be designed in a certain way that's kind of the game's been built for you to almost make builds.
Yeah, I mean, obviously,
and I don't feel like this is.
Dying Light is obviously a big sandbox experience for the most part. Like, you know, that you can spend hours just dicking about. Like, you can, you know, I don't know about this, but it strikes me much more as like closed off sections.
So
it
starts off that way.
Type thing.
No, it starts that way, and it does expand to be bigger. I don't want to get into spoilers at this point, but
yeah,
but I like the main character's a douche, and there's like, so when you first get to the upgrade machine, it's like a female voiced vending machine because everything's like, it's kind of like a bit like almost like Futurama, I guess, where everything's alive, got AI, and it's like it's really overtly sexually aggressive. And I don't want people going, oh yeah, well if it was a bloke it wouldn't be a problem. No, I don't. You know, it's not that. That's not what I'm getting at here. I'm not getting at a kind of sexism angle. I'm getting at I get it the first time. It's like it's almost like it's going for the over the top, it's funny thing, and then it does it again the next time you meet it, and then it's like it's constant every time you get to a new version of it, and it's like it's really odd, and I don't think that lands, and I don't know. I don't want to be too down on it because I think it's a very pretty game. I think ultimately what's making me not want to play more of it, and this is a very me thing when it comes to a first-person game, it doesn't feel great to me to control. Like it's got this weird thing, like, and lots of games do this, so it's not unique. It's fine when you're moving forwards or backwards, but if you strafe, it's like half speed. Now I'm sure you can adjust that in the but it just and I get
it's difficult to express why, but I do agree with you. I think it's even more important when you're first person.
Yes.
Can't think of a better way of saying it. It's not being a dick. Be at one with the controls, feeling control of the controls, right? Because your field of vision is naturally restricted by the first person nature of things, right? You can't just scroll a camera around and see behind you or anything else like in a third person thing. So I think it does make a difference. You know, Dying Light is all right at it. It's not the best, but like I say, the fluidity of the movement and the options gives you some wiggle room. But it has to, first person games, they have to control well, otherwise you just end up, like you say, feel like you're just wailing around or getting just attacked from the side for no fault of your own. And do you know what I mean? I feel like it's the choice of first person means you've got to nail that. I do agree with you there, and if it doesn't, I can kind of get it.
It feels all at once heavy and light, and I know that sounds a ridiculous thing to say, but like the guns feel, the guns and the melee feel the wrong way round in terms of what they delivered, and so the second gun you unlock is like a electric gun. So rather than using ammo, because it's ammo scarce, you can craft it, but like the second gun is ammo-less gun. It's based on using your sort of battery, and it's like a pistol, an electric pistol. And in this game, there are enemies like they're like weird little helicopter-based drones that come flying at you. And so I think, I'm gonna get my electric gun out here and pop you one. Oh, I'll pop you again. Okay, well, fucking hell, what's going on? And nothing, you for a game where you're this badass, I presume, like Soviet dude with like a glove with magic powers, you feel like you're just a wuss. Like it just feels, I don't feel like a superpowered soldier or anything.
I get what you're saying.
But let's move on to another game that I don't know that we'll touch on for ages because it's not a new game. But I reviewed Kirby's Return to Dream Land Deluxe, and I can't remember if I'd played this before. I think I have because there's some of the mini games are like super familiar. And I've definitely played that, but like they probably use them a lot. The mini games.
Yeah.
But it's one of those where I've played Kirby games before and really not enjoyed them because they're so easy. Like, and
I remember.
yeah. And this has still got that thing where you can, if you want to sort of fly through the level and not engage in it. But I think you're missing the point if you do that because it's the level design that's kind of interesting and cool. And what I found really interesting about this game is due to that level design, due to the powers, due to the just how it looks and feels and sounds. Just the more I played, the more I was enjoying it. Like, I just kept growing more affectionate towards it, and it's just a really nice time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I maybe, but just because I'm weird, arrogant, don't know what the right word is, but I always tend to go, oh, Kirby game, that's not for me. And I enjoyed, what was the one, what's the name of it? The one from last year? The
Forgotten Land. I reviewed that for Kirby and the Forgotten Land.
Making you forget all the one
it's
with the
it's
car.
the 3D one.
One where it swallows a car and becomes a car. That one. Forgotten Land, I think is
it
right.
is Forgotten Land.
I enjoyed that. I've obviously read your review for this one. It looks lovely, and I've played the Yoshi games, which are kind of a similar type thing in the sense that they're lovely, beautifully crafted levels, but a touch on the easy side. So I can definitely see the appeal of it, just like, you know, a nice sort of like gentle like romp. Well, bad word, but you know what I mean. But like, I guess from you've played it, you've played other Kirby games, and you do quite openly mention your view. It starts off incredibly
very easy.
So that was going to be my point, because or question really was like, without obviously giving too much away, it's like, I guess it's like, to what degree am I going to have to get through like 3 hours of just like
no
concentrate, or is it just like a couple of levels and
it's the first world, which is I think 4 levels and a boss fight. Okay. The levels are sort of longer than you think they'd be, if that makes sense, because of the exploration. And Kirby's not the fastest moving platformer. No, it's not. It's not as bad as that. It's like as soon as you get out of the first world, you're not going to die. But
but there's enough. I guess variation to keep you on your toes a bit.
This is it. So what happened to me was that all of a sudden I was like, oh, I really want to explore this, how this looks and feels, and I want to find it's like a Mario game where, you know, you pick up the stars or the cogs or the coins. In this, it's cogs, you know, and you find the hidden cogs and they unlock things. It's that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And I just really wanted to. Like I say, I can't explain it. I can't explain if it's a fluke.
No,
it just engaged me, and I was like, and then it's got all the mini game stuff, and it's got one of the best mini games. Like, it's got I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's called Samurai Kirby, and because they're all based around different masks and weirdness. And like in Samurai Kirby, you stand completely still with your sword, and it's like, you know, in Ghost of Tsushima where you do the insta kill. It's that. You press the button in time, and so you just stood there silently, the screen's silent, and then it'll flash up an exclamation mark, and it's how quickly you press the button. But they've added like 100 Kirby mode where you're playing against other people online. Now it's not. I don't, because obviously pre-release, a lot of them were almost bots, but there were real people's names in there as well. Now I don't know if it's their time, because it's how quick you do it,
rather than live,
or whether it's
people
live.
Just there waiting.
I would suspect it isn't live, just because that's only one of the mini games within the mini game mode that itself is a separate mode from the main game.
Yeah.
So I suspect it's their time doing that trial on that day, because it's a daily thing, and like the highest I got was like 24th, and I was like, it's just old man reactions. Like, it is literally like, you are literally like there with the controller like this, like hovering over the A button, going.
Yeah.
And then you get like 27 seconds, you know, God damn it. And it's like, it's got some really good fun mini games. there's kind of nothing bad to say about it, apart from the fact that it is just, in places, really easy. Like, they've added stuff to it in the deluxe version that make it easier. Like, you have a health bar that you would refill by picking up fruits and stuff, and now in this, if you want, and I turned it on because I thought, well, why wouldn't I? Especially if I'm just sort of using this as a game to explore in.
Yeah,
you have 2 health bars now. Like, if you fall, Magalore will pick you back up. And now I couldn't remember, but I'm pretty sure in the original that would have been an instant. There's not many ways to instantly die in a Kirby game. One of them is if you get squished by like 2 boulders coming together or flattening you.
Yeah.
And I think the other was falling, because you should never fall in a Kirby game. Let's be honest.
No,
you can fly.
No. Yeah, you could literally fly. I think you may have mentioned this in your review as well. Like, my daughter's at the age,
right,
where she started to say, "Daddy, can we play a game?"
Yeah.
And sometimes that's watch Daddy forget how bad his reactions are at GoldenEye these days, but she has like picked up like Banjo-Kazooie and stuff, and she's found that too hard, because Banjo-Kazooie is not really a kid's game. It looks like a cartoony game, but it's not a kid's game in terms of difficulty.
Yeah.
So I was thinking whether this is actually a given that dying's quite hard, whether it is one of those intro games that will actually be ideal for someone like that.
Well, the good thing as well is there are ways of tailoring that co-op experience. So if you play as Kirby, you then have control over the copy abilities and stuff, and it's not something she has to worry about. If she plays as like player 2 and picks King Day or whatever, or I never know how to say his name. Day.
DDD. I only know that from Smash Brothers.
Is that just...
It's DDD?
Wow. Okay.
And it's just, I know that from Smash Brothers, because I'd say Day.
But he's a hammer guy, is what I'm getting at. So he's got a hammer. Yeah. He doesn't do copy abilities. He's not Kirby. And I'm 100% spacing on the bloody name of the bag, Meta Knight, isn't it, with the sword?
Yeah.
So he's the sword guy. So it is if she played as one of those two, it is focusing on even less and even more of a babysitting method for you, in that she hasn't got to worry about picking up the bomb copy ability or the fire. That's you're doing the Kirby-ness.
Yeah.
She can, and that. So I think it is. And again, it's like I don't know. It's almost a podcast in itself, but I said this in the review because it was really fresh in my mind. In a industry where it seems people are chasing difficulty as a badge of honor, I cannot come down on this for being too easy. Because it's easy for us to forget that we were kids when we first got into games, and not every kid's first game is going to be Bloodborne or Elden Ring. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, these games,
100%.
These games still need to exist, and also, I am old enough that when kids' games came out or themed on movie games, they were shit.
Yeah.
Like, it took a long time before you get games based on franchises that kids love. Like, I was going to say Lord of the Rings. That's maybe not the right answer, but that's, Sonic or whatever. It took a long time for games that are popular in the media now to be good. Like, I remember there being a good X-Men game, Wolverine it was, and it was like, wow, this is actually... it used to be, it's a movie time, it'll be shit.
It'll be crap.
It'll be shit. So I cannot come down on this game for being too easy. I just cannot. And I'm glad it exists, and I really enjoyed playing it. And it's, I do like a good collectathon, and that's what it became for me. With the double health bar, I was like, well, I'm not that fussed about dying, and I'm not gonna die. No. But like with the mini game collection to dip in and out of just every now and again, like it's a slightly odd one, because the Wii was a very popular console, so it is a bit of an odd one for them to re-release.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's neither here nor there, is it? It's... Yeah. But yeah, 3 good games. Very briefly going to touch on PSVR, very briefly, because I've played some more. We'll have some more content on the site for these. There's a couple of YouTube shorts you can go and look at. Resident Evil Village, pants-shittingly scary. Like,
I was going to ask about that. Sorry.
Yeah.
Not the pants-shitting bit.
Yeah.
So, like, the actual game of it, of the VR experience part, is it just like the exploration? Is it just exploration? Like, what? Or is
no,
there
it's the game. It's the game.
It's the full game.
Yeah, it's the same as they did with 7. It's the full game. They've actually added a tutorial
you
for
have
you
to
for VR.
survive the flipping opening in VR, like not the opening, but like the opening village section and stuff.
I'll be honest with you, mate. I stopped before I got that far because I literally no, genuinely, it's not so much that it was scary. It was just too much. The tension. Don't get me wrong. Too much.
Because you referenced it, the walking through the woods bit in the
that was unpleasant.
snow and stuff. Yeah. No.
There is some weird stuff with it. Like, at the very start, you have to put your baby to bed.
Yeah.
And I'd forgotten that. And I skipped the intro cutscene, so I'm like, I don't need to see all this again. And then I started the game, and this won't work if you're not watching the video podcast, but it started the game, and I was like, controllers in my hand. I've actually got one here. So, I can't actually see it on the camera, but I've got one here, so I'm charging it. So literally, controllers in my hand, like that, waiting to see what's this going to look like. And all of a sudden, in the game, I'm like that, and there's a baby right there, and I'm like, fucking baby! And like, this baby is like... Oh. And like it starts with you kind of... I don't think it does this. I don't think it did this originally, but you're sort of on your knees, sort of leaning on the sofa, watching your wife read to Rose. I don't remember if that was in the game.
Oh, I can't remember the exact opening part.
But then you carry your baby up to bed, and it actually gave me almost a bit of motion sickness because I was like literally carrying a baby, and I'm not carrying a baby. I've got a control. But it made me do this in real life. It made me do that in real life. Memory. And then it carries on, and then it's difficult with the... I mean, you can... As someone who's not being like... It's not arrogant, but I've played a lot of virtual reality, and as someone who's done so, you can absolutely tell this game was not designed with VR in mind from day one.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of stuff in the cutscenes where like you end up crawling, and if you were to replicate what you're seeing in real life, you're crawling like this.
Yeah.
Because your hands are like under your chin almost at one point. Very early in the game, one of the werewolves bites your hand off, and again in a VR world, it hasn't. Your hand's still there. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But it is, and I will say I wasn't too sure because once you start to be able to aim with a gun, it actually, because they bob and weave a lot, it gives you that one-to-one aiming that you can just be like, fine, I'm one-to-one aiming.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it actually makes it easier because also, from what I understood in the menus, it doesn't carry saves over. So I do wonder if it's easier because you can aim. Gran Turismo 7, phenomenal in VR. Like, everything they said about it, and you heard about it pre-release, I can confirm it is true. It is the full game in virtual reality. It is a bit odd, because it gives you like that big CinemaScope screen, and when the races start and your car goes past, and I was like, oh, has it not worked? And then you're in the car suddenly, and so, oh, I'm in a car. And they're all modeled differently, and they all feel differently, and might not mean much to someone who doesn't drive in real life. You do, so I think you'll get this. When you go sort of over a road camber that's kind of weirdly sort of up and down and sort of almost as you're turning, doing that in this game, and you're sort of like, it's like, whoa, and it's good. It's good.
Okay, great.
Because there's a couple of courses where you sort of bend around the camber. And the other game I do want to quickly shout out, actually Thumper's great as well, but Thumper was always great in VR and great full stop. I did try the eye tracking in Res, and I'm undecided because it's quite weird to get used to, because in Res is not a difficult game to play. You point with the controller or a cursor and you point at things, and now you still have to hold the controller because you have to press X to lock, but you just sit there and look around with your eyes.
I was going to ask if it just made it ridiculously simple if you could just do it with your eyes.
It does make it easier, yeah, especially if you know the game as well as I do, like level 1 or whatever. But like, it's just really, it's mad to think how old Res is, how ahead of its time it was. I know I've waxed about this 2 weeks running, but like, I don't feel that game gets enough love. Res is such an amazing game, and it's so odd. Like I say, this is 20 years, 3 consoles later, and it still feels ahead of its time with like the vibration in time in your head and the music and everything. Eye tracking it still feels like. And lastly, Zombieland Headshot Fever Reloaded. A game I was like, well, I'll have a look at it because I remember watching the first Zombieland film and it was all right, wasn't it? Woody Harrelson and that. I don't know if you've seen it. I don't.
No, I've not seen it. I know what you mean, though.
I think there is a sequel. I think, and I've not seen it. I don't know really. I don't really know much about it other than the film. I don't know that Woody Harrelson's not in this game. I think it's his brother, which is sort of doubly weird. It's like, I wonder, does he just get his brother to do the jobs he doesn't really feel like are quite his pay grade? And like, it's like, yeah, fair enough. It's brilliant fun. It's brilliant fun. It's one of those games where, like, if I had someone around and they were like, can I have a go on the old PSVR 2? I'd be like, okay, let's get you on Zombieland. And they go, what? Not Horizon, Zombieland. Let's get you on Zombieland. Because it's like, back in the day when I was aging myself, when I was playing like Operation Wolf in the arcade or House of the Dead, and it was an arcade game. It's like one of them, but it's super responsive, quick. It doesn't do this thing a lot of VR games do, where it goes for ultra realism. Like in Resident Evil Village, they've added all these animations and things. Like, you know, so you press a button and it drops the cartridge out of the gun. You then pick one up from your waist, put it in, and you have to cock the gun. If it's a shotgun, you have to load the bullets in and then cock it after each pull. If it's a sniper, you have to load the cartridge and pull the rifle over the top.
Oh right, yeah.
You don't do any of that in Zombieland.
You just shoot shit.
You just shoot shit, and you know what?
Yeah.
They've just put the bullets here, so you just flick the stick down and it drops the cartridge out, and you just go like that and just cock it. Basically, you just slam it down in front of you, and it just loads one in for you, and then you shoot again. In the meanwhile, you're holding an Uzi in your left hand and shooting that, and it's the same thing. And you just flick a button and you just load it, and it's like it doesn't want to be like, oh, let's be ultra realistic, and I believe that the AK-47 reloads in this manner. None of that shit. It's just like just shoot zombies. Like you shoot a zombie in the head twice, and you get the double tap bonus, which puts you into bullet time. And then you can keep that going, and then at the end of it all, if you spent time in bullet time, it knocks it off your time for the level. So you might have spent a minute and a half, you get a 59-seconder because you spent 30 seconds in bullet time. Like, you shoot a zombie's like special weak point that some super zombie's got, like you can see its guts, you shoot it, toilet paper comes out, a toilet roll flies out. Because in this world, toilet rolls are the most expensive currency because the world's the apocalypse. When toilet roll, everyone wants it. Right, so you can trade your toilet rolls for gun upgrades. And if you shoot the toilet roll when it flies out, you get double the toilet roll. And it all sounds so stupid, but it is so fun. Like, it is so fun. Like, and it's just one of those, while it's not realistic, it's what you think of VR should be like. So I'm looking ahead, and there's a zombie there, and I'm about to run out of my gun with my pistol, but I've got an Uzi, so I'm just firing like off to the side. I'm not looking. I know there's a zombie there because I've clocked him, and I'm just pulling the trigger on my Uzi while shooting a zombie, reloading, and it's brilliant fun. Yeah, that's my VR roundup for the week, I suppose. And we weren't going to do listener correspondence, but we have a question in the live chat, and it would be very rude not to answer. So I'm going to play the jingle, Chris, and here it comes.
Oh, okay. Chris, hi. Listener correspondence. It's time. It's time. Chris, hi. Okie doke. So, yeah, question in the live chat from Fernando Ferreira. Says, hi, here's a fun question for listener correspondence. A new state of play arrives today. Can both of you make one prediction, your best prediction for today's presentation? Here's mine. A demo for Resident Evil 4 gets announced / stealth dropped today.
It's not a bad prediction.
It's not. No.
The only thing about that is Capcom have been doing their own Resident Evil, what do they call them? Showcase presentation, but they've been doing their own.
Yeah, they have, haven't they? Yeah.
But I don't know that they haven't got much. I mean, that wouldn't surprise me. The game's out next month.
No, it wouldn't surprise me, and it's almost like not. It's like not spoiling it, but is as well, isn't it? Given that the fact that it's like a remake.
But I mean, I played the opening of it at that preview last year.
Yeah,
and it was
exactly.
as polished as you could imagine. So I mean, I would do that. I would put that out as a timed demo and like see how people could speedrun it and stuff. And I don't know. It was, like I say, it wasn't a long preview I played of it, but that was ages ago now, months and months, and it was really polished. So it's got to be PlayStation based. And we know they're showing. We know they're showing Suicide Squad, so we can't go there.
What about something to do with Burning Shores?
Yeah, my only thing about that is, would that be eating Call of the Mountains lunch a little bit?
Potentially. I mean, there will be VR 2 will be.
Well, I was going to say, if they don't show something VR that we don't know about yet, I'd be very surprised, because it's riding the marketing wave, isn't it? Fine, I'll go for one. A new Uncharted announced.
Yeah.
What they've been doing this marketing drive recently, Sony, where it's called Live from PlayStation. I think it's called Live on or Live from PlayStation. They're doing it's been like live stuff. Like, if you remember, there was
just seeing like Kratos and stuff.
Yeah, so there was one where the Leviathan axe was in London for a couple of days, and it was this massive axe, and it was in the ground. It's like, okay, so God of War Ragnarok, we get it. There was one in LA, I think, with Spider-Man. They've got like a webbing thing. Okay, we get it. And that's where the news came out that Spider-Man 2 was this. When did they say? Can't remember, spring or whatever it is. No, that would make sense. Whatever it is, it's nearer the end of the year. There was one in the many clips, they showed loads of little clips. And you're like, oh, yeah, there's that. There's one that looked a bit like an Uncharted game. There's a woman in the clip with a torch walking towards what looked like a bit like Indiana Jones style plinth and I saw that and I thought, I don't know what game that's from. Maybe it's an Uncharted. There you go. So what's yours?
I don't know. Because I was gonna say, I do think we need to hear something about Burning Shores, but like you're right when you said about taking it away from Call of the Mountain. That's just thrown me now. I'm trying to rapidly think of
it's difficult. It's difficult for me, right? Because I have how much PSVR 2 I've played in the last 2-3 weeks, or whatever.
Yeah.
Every game now, I'm going like, they can make this in VR.
Could that be PSVR? Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like I started playing Destiny 2 today, of all games, right? Because the new expansion's out, and I was like, I want to try Destiny 2 from the beginning again, see what the new user experience is like. And I was playing it, I was going. And also, last night I was watching the football, and they have PlayStation adverts for Champions League matches.
Yeah.
Because it's sponsored by PlayStation. They've actually got Destiny 2 Lightfall adverts for it. And I was just thinking, well, yeah, because Sony own it now, don't they? And what better way would there be to say, hey, play it on PlayStation, not on Xbox or PC. It's now available in VR. Do you know what I mean? I mean, they're not going to do that. They're not going to stealth announce Destiny 2 in VR.
Destiny 2 VR.
And the update's available now. They just wouldn't do it because Lightfall's just coming out. But I am in that mindset now of like, I wonder what this would be like in VR. Like every game that's not a VR game on my sort of PlayStation dashboard at the moment. It's like,
that could be.
But to be honest with you, then I see one, I'm like, it is. Because like I was doing that with No Man's Sky. I was like, that would be. No, it is in VR, and they just updated that for PSV. So it's like, I don't know. This, what would Octopath Traveler be like in VR? No, it's. But even Atomic Heart, I'm going. That wouldn't be that difficult because it's not that fast. Stop it. Stop being in VR.
What would Wild Hearts be like in VR?
Yeah, well, that'd be mad. That'd be mad. But yeah, no, I'm going for Uncharted, and hopefully.
That would be something.
I mean,
I'm going to say Burning Shores. Screw it. Stick to your guns on this one.
Because I think the Uncharted is a potential one that could actually happen if it's your best prediction. I mean, I could. It's been a while since I've heard anyone say it, so I'll say it. And available now to download the remaster of Bloodborne for PlayStation 5.
yeah, exactly.
Coming to Steam Deck in March.
And just to whet your appetite, we've remastered the original.
And yes, we've listened. We're making Bloodborne Kart. Yeah,
we've listened.
That was a thing. That was a thing on Reddit for a while. People were like,
was it? Okay.
Yeah, they're making a remaster of Bloodborne. Finally, my uncle at Nintendo has said they're making it, and they're also making Bloodborne carts.
Oh, that would be superb.
Oh dear. But that's the only listener correspondence in it. So should I play the jingle again?
Do it. Chris Hyde, listener correspondence. It's time. Chris Hyde.
I mean, yeah, quite an impromptu listener correspondence. It wasn't planned this week. We didn't ask for any questions. But
you asked, we deliver.
I should say, at the time we're recording this, it's literally PlayStation doing the state of play tonight, because we obviously have to pre-record a podcast. Usually, it's just sort of that's the way recording things works. But yeah, it is going to be fascinating. Because part of me thinks that they know there will be like a reaction to Suicide Squad, because I think enough's now known the way people have got that kind of thing in their head about, is it a service game? Okay. Which makes me wonder if they'll sort of front load the presentation with some big stuff. I mean, Final Fantasy 16, now I think about it, it's too late, we've left the segment, but Final Fantasy 16 isn't that far off, and we haven't,
don't know that much about.
Not really. It's
no.
Oh, it's going to be a mad summer. Anyway, we'll talk about more games next week, and I'm sorry for those who don't like my voice that it's been mostly me this week. A lot of the stuff that is being played can't be discussed yet, and Lyle had one other game this week, but he is otherwise engaged. He'll be back next week, I'm sure. Chris, thank you for being here. Otherwise, it would have just been me talking to myself.
That's always a pleasure, mate. Always a pleasure to hear your dulcet tones.
Oh, likewise. Your northern tones.
Yeah, all right.
Oh, Thank you, everyone else who watched us, listened to us, or whatever. You can follow us on godisageek.com for your latest in video game news, reviews, previews, podcasts, interviews. There's actually we've got a couple of call interviews lined up. There's it's still going back and forth, but we're talking to the people behind the Sherlock games, the recent Sherlock games game, because they've just delayed the game as well because they're in Ukraine and basically they're going to work and no power. So that's quite interesting talking to them. There is a little snippet of that interview already on the site where they were going to be making I think they said it was a horror game, like a much bigger game, but they can't right now because they just can't do it. It's just not, with that in mind, always worse people worse off than you in the world, isn't there? So dental pain, but at least I'm not in Ukraine, and that rhymed. So, and that was accidental, not scripted. You can also go to patreon.com/godisageek, but if you want to just donate £1 to a charity of your choosing, that's also fine too. But if we can help out, help out. Otherwise, go to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're everywhere. Just TikTok, I think, as well. God is a Geek. You'll find us everywhere you need to find us. Do rate the podcast. I don't ask very often, but do stick us stick 4 stars on just to spite me, or 5 stars. Up to you. But thank you for watching, listening, reading. Thank you for everything. And Chris, thank you. And to everybody else, we will speak to you next week or whenever you choose to listen. Bye-bye for now.